And number 10, Zapdos. While Moltres and Articuno have a majestic quality to them, Zapdos with its sharp extended talons, its long beak and pointed wings, tail and head look like the kind of thunder-type Pokemon you would never want to run into on a dark and rainy night. When Zapdos flaps its wings, it releases electricity that can potentially cause thunderstorms, as well as massive crackling and snapping noises. It sheds lightning bolts, people. Pretty darn scary. And at number 9, Mewtwo. Now, go ahead and call us Gen 1ers, but for many of the fans of the Pokemon franchise who grew up when the series first hit the scene, Mewtwo was one hell of a horrific Pokemon. Now, for starters, it was a man-made legendary Pokemon. It has a horrible and tragic origin story, and it boasted a vengeance towards humanity that was unheard of in the Pokemon world. It was our first taste of how tremendous power doesn't always mean glory, as far as the anime and the first Pokemon feature film were concerned. Now in the games, players find out from the scientific logs of the partially destroyed Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island what exactly went wrong with Mewtwo, along with the horrific gene splicing experiments that it underwent. You eventually find it in Cerulean Cave after you are victorious at the Indigo Plateau. And that's just Mewtwo. It now has 2 Mega Forms that are arguably within the top strongest Pokemon of all time. And let's be honest, Mega Mewtwo Y is utterly terrifying to look at. Moving on. And at number 8, Solgaleo. From Generation 1 to Generation 7, here we have Solgaleo, who, quite frankly, is pretty darn badass when it comes to aesthetics. But just like a lion in real life, you wouldn't want to get close to it for fear of it maybe biting your head off. Or another limb. Anywho, it's a Psychic Steel type. It's 11 foot 507 pound Pokemon, and it's the emissary of the sun. Its body holds a vast amount of energy, causing it to shine with light when it's active. It's known as the beast that devours the sun, which, all things considered, really articulates just how powerful Solgaleo can be. And at number 7, Zygarde. Zygarde is the first of a handful of dragon-type Pokemon we have on this list. It also is a ground type, which makes sense considering its snaky aesthetic, or at least for its 50% form that is. Now over 16 feet in height and weighing approximately 672 pounds, this Pokemon has multiple forms, like several other legendary Pokemon on this list do. Except Zygardes are all based off of how many cells it's gathered. The form we're specifically looking at today is its 50% form. Here's where it gets freaky though. According to its Pokemon Y Pokedex entry, it's hypothesized that it's monitoring those who destroy the ecosystem from deep within the cave where it lives. And if that did scare you enough, here's its Pokemon Sun entry. It wipes out all those who oppose it, showing not a shred of mercy. So that's swell if you manage to catch the Zygarde, but not so much if you're on the receiving end of one in a battle. Yikes. And at number 6, Kyurem. Kyurem is a dragon-ice Pokemon, whose height is approximately 910 feet. It's a Generation 5 Pokemon who is capable of generating a powerful freezing energy inside of itself. Now according to legend, it can be hostile towards both humans and other Pokemon, eating them if it found them outside at night. Yup. Also according to legend, it's an extraterrestrial Pokemon, and its yellow eyes have no pupils. Adding to the whole, I'm gonna crap my pants if I ever saw you aesthetic. And at number 5, Rayquaza. Considering the immense size of Rayquaza, if you ever saw one in real life, I'm fairly certain you'd probably think the world is ending and the apocalypse is nigh. Rayquaza kinda has that effect on people. At 23 feet tall and 455 pounds, this dragon-flying type is from the Hoenn region, and prefers to spend most of its time high above the ground. In addition to that, rumor has it that it's hundreds of millions of years old. Something with that kind of longevity, or immortality rather, is not to be taken lightly. Plus its Mega Form is one of the most powerful Pokemon, if not the most powerful Pokemon to ever existed. And to be in possession of that kind of power alone, well, that's pretty freaky. Those tiny little eyes aren't helping matters much either. And at number 4, Type Null. Type Null is a synthetic Pokemon who falls into the normal type. It's one of the few legendary Pokemon known to evolve as well, evolving into the much less scary looking Silvally, thanks to when leveled up with a high friendship stat. Here's something that should give you shivers though. The contraption on its head is actually a piece of equipment to control its latent powers. Now according to its Pokemon Moon Pokedex entry, due to the danger that this synthetic Pokemon may go on a rampage, it wears a control mask to restrain its power. When it was created by the Aether Foundation, it was codenamed Beast Killer, and was developed with cells taken from all known Pokemon types. Now you'd think by Generation 7 scientists would have learned a thing or two about messing around with the genetics of Pokemon, but guess not. And at number 3, Giratina. Giratina is a ghost dragon type, so obviously it made this list. If there was a horror Pokemon movie, Giratina would star as the terrifying ghost that kills off a bunch of teenage trainers. Take one look at it. Coming in at approximately 1,653 pounds, this is one Pokemon you do not want to mess with, especially considering it was banished to the Distortion World due to its uncontrollable violence. Plus, take one look at its origin form and try to not see a dragon centipede. Yep. Stuff a nightmare, friends. A Generation 4 Pokemon, it is said to have gazed upon our world from the Distortion World, silently, and can travel through dimensions. It's highly aggressive and territorial, and it often appears in cemeteries. So, like I said, horror movie Pokemon. And at number 2, Yveltal. Yveltal is like the reverse atomic bombs of Pokemon. Its whole shtick is that it has the ability to absorb life energy. When it reaches the end of its lifespan, it expands its wings, steals all the life energy of every single living thing within a certain proximity of it, and then transforms into a cocoon, sleeping for 1,000 years. But that kind of power comes with immense responsibility. Being able to put an end to so many lives in just one flap of its wings is a massive deal, something that Team Flare took notice of, and once tried to harness that power and make it into a devastating weapon. Standing at 19 feet tall and weighing 447 pounds, Yveltal is a dark flying type, and aside from its sheer power, it's pretty darn scary in terms of physical qualities. It's got those long red wings and tail with black highlights and long claws that curve inwards. Imagine those just like touching you, like grabbing your back from behind and you don't even know it. Ugh. And at number 1, Necrozma. Necrozma is a prism Pokemon, a psychic type, that looks like it crawled right out of our nightmares. Out of all the legendary Pokemon, Necrozma is the biggest enigma, found in the Alola region. Its name's etymology is pretty dark too. It's a combination of the ancient Greek word for dead, and the word for black, and another ancient Greek word for prism. Its ultra form is believed to be based on giant stars or supernovae, with its main form playing on the idea of black holes, black dwarfs, light refraction, and neutron stars. And just like space, Necrozma is straddling the line of downright awesome and absolutely terrifying. According to its Pokemon Moon Pokedex entry, light is apparently the source of its energy. It has an extraordinary vicious disposition and is constantly firing off laser beams. Sounds like one hell of a way to get dead real quick. Now, according to the Ultra Sun entry, it looks somehow pained as it rages around in search of light, which serves as its energy. It's apparently from another world. All in all, pretty creepy. And at number 10, Xerneas. Xerneas is both majestic and pretty darn freaky looking. At 9 feet 10 inches, weighing 474 pounds, this fairy Pokemon can be found in the Kalos region, and is said to be able to share eternal life. Now, prior to being revived, it slept for 1,000 years in the form of a tree. It's got a wicked set of antlers on its head, all of which shine in 7 different colors, and when they glow, that's meant to signify that it's sharing its immortality. Now, at the end of its life, it releases all of its life energy into all living things around it, and goes back to sleep. But perhaps the most awesome thing about it, and slightly unnerving, if we're being honest, is that it has the power to create life. It's been known to create forests, making it a benevolent force of nature. So really, whether or not this Pokemon scares you is pretty subjective, although it's pretty darn intimidating regardless. And at number 9, Landorus. From one force of nature to another, next up we have Landorus, a ground flying type that is creepy at best, despite its somewhat humanoid hybrid appearance. The first of the trio of legendary Pokemon of the Unova region that we'll be discussing on this list, it holds power over the land and the fields. It resembles a genie, with spikes protruding from its head and a sharp mustache. But luckily, the way it looks is really the only creepy thing about it. It's a Pokemon that uses the forces of lightning and wind to create energy to give nutrients to soil and make land abundant. And at number 8, Tornadus. Next up we have the second of the Unova Forces of Nature trio, the Cyclone Pokemon Tornadus. For anyone who absolutely hates tornadoes or hurricanes and finds them really scary, this Pokemon definitely ain't for you. It rides the winds in Unova and expels massive energy from its tail in order to create severe storms, some of which have been known to blow whole houses away. Talk about a Pokemon capable of causing some really traumatizing damage. It can zoom through the sky at 200 miles per hour, and in every direction it flies, it creates winds that are so powerful that they blow everything away. And at number 7, Thundurus. In terms of aesthetic, Thundurus is by far the scariest of the trio of Unova legendary Pokemon. Known as a Bolt Strike Pokemon, this electric flying type has spikes on its tail that discharge immense bolts of lightning. It's the stuff of nightmare fuel, people. As for its Pokedex entry in Pokemon Black and White 2, it reads, as it flies around, it shoots lightning all over the place, causing forest fires. It is therefore disliked. Yeah, I can see why. Its Therian form is perhaps even scarier. It's the same thing, but slicker and with claws. And at 6, Moltres. Generation 1 legendary Pokemon Moltres may not seem all that scary at first. Rather, it's a flying fire type that, upon first glance, looks awesome, right? It's only when you consider what Moltres actually is that this Pokemon becomes a bit unsettling. It is a massive fire bird with burning wings and feathers. That's a whole lot of open flames, people. Moltres is the largest of the winged legendary Pokemon trio of Kanto, standing at 6 feet 7 inches, weighing 132 pounds, and is typically witnessed near volcanoes or other heat sources. So yeah, you're gonna be getting a little hot under the collar when trying to catch it. for all the wrong reasons, of course. And at number 5, Registeel. There's something very ominous about Registeel. This steel-type iron Pokemon stands at 6 feet 3 inches and weighs a whopping 451 pounds. Found in the Hoenn region, it's been deep underground for thousands of years, with its metal body hardening under massive amounts of pressure. The exact kind of metal it's made out of is a complete mystery. It's also got 7 little red beady eyes that make it lack the sort of humanity that other legendaries sometimes exude, making it feel more robotic and foreign, not dissimilar to a science fiction antagonist the likes of Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey. So yeah, a little unsettling. And at 4, Lunala. While Lunala may not be as fierce in size as some of the other Pokemon on this list, its aesthetic in terms of fright factor manages to beat out most. It looks like it's some sort of majestic horror film creature, from its bat-like wings to its sharp eyes and subtle fangs. It's known as the beast that calls the moon, and when it spreads its wings it can absorb the surrounding light, which to be fair does make it aesthetically quite stunning, since it will glitter like a crescent moon. But what makes it really scary is that it sometimes summons unknown powers and life forms to our world from holes that lead to other worlds, and it has a third eye that when activated allows it to fly to another world itself. Ugh. And at 3, Zekrom. Zekrom, a dragon electric type, is known as the deep black Pokemon. It conceals itself in clouds as it roams around the land, making it stealthy as f***. Standing at 9 feet 6 inches and weighing 760 pounds, this Pokemon can create electricity in its tail, and is capable of scorching the world with lightning. In addition to that, its tail can also emit an anti-gravity field, allowing it to fly with minimal effects from aerodynamic resistance and gravity. In other words, it's a dangerous threat in battle. It resembles a dragon and has 6 pairs of pointed teeth visible when its mouth is open. Perhaps the most terrifying thing about it though? It assists those who want to build an ideal world. That's the key. Ideal can be very subjective, friends. And at number 2, Groudon. Groudon is another Pokemon on our list who tiptoes the line of appearing totally awesome and utterly terrifying. Those claws, those teeth, the spikes protruding from its body, and those eyes? Ugh, yeah. Standing at 11 feet 6 inches and weighing 2,094 pounds. If you were to encounter something of its size in real life, you can bet your butt that you'd be pooping your pants in terror. This legendary evaporates water in order to create land, according to mythology, and because of this it was once a part of a scheme of Team Magma's in order to increase the landmass of the Hoenn region. When villainous criminal teams want to use a Pokemon for nefarious reasons, you know that's some power to be feared. In the wrong hands, who knows what this Pokemon would be capable of. And finally, in at number 1, Dialga. Dialga has very sharp and jarring features, standing at 17 feet 9 inches and weighing 1,505 pounds. What makes it really scary though is that it has the ability to control time itself. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty darn frightening depending on who catches this legendary, or who tries to take advantage of it. It uses its power to travel at will through the past and the future. This steel dragon type Pokemon from Sinnoh's Pokedex entry in black and white reads, "It is said that time flows when Dialga's heart beats." Okay, so like what happens if it stops? Legend has it that time began moving when it was born. Now it primarily resides in a different dimension, so not much is known about it, but it has been known to be particularly violent in conflicts with its counterparts.
And at number 10, Registeel. This legendary Pokemon looks like it could belong in a Black Mirror episode. Registeel is this faceless, cold-looking robot Pokemon with 7 red dots on its face. The dots where its face are supposed to be make this legendary even more frightening to look at. It looks like a spider-robot hybrid and is often used as what's called a staller. A staller Pokemon are the ones that you would keep in your party to scare an enemy from wanting to battle with you. Registeel doesn't have the greatest offensive system, but it makes up for it with its high resistance. It's essentially a moving wall, and if on the loose in real life, could wreak a lot of havoc simply by blocking traffic. If Registeel was real, we could do very little as humans to remove it from a given situation if it chose to stay in one place. In at number 9, Terrakion. A Terrakion is this large, bulky, bull-like looking legendary Pokemon with downward facing horns that's very similar to the real-life English longhorn bull. Terrakions have an extreme amount of power due to its muscular body and thick legs. It's so strong that it could smash through a castle wall with just one charge. Now imagine if this Pokemon existed with this power in real life, it would be near impossible for us to stop it. If a Terrakion sees no issue with smashing through a castle wall, Lord knows what it would do if it was lost in a city. Combine that with the Pokemon's inherent distrust for humans and we would be in a lot of trouble. And at number 8, Raikou. If Raikou were real, many would believe it's a saber-toothed tiger come back back to life. Its long front fangs are extremely intimidating, but that's not even the scariest part about this legendary. Raikou also carries rain clouds on its back, which allows the creature to fire off thunderbolts whenever it wants. Its Pokedex entry says it descends with the lightning and it races across the land barking a cry that sounds like crashing thunder. So great, a saber-tooth tiger that could also electrocute you. This alien hybrid wouldn't just be terrifying physically if it were real, it would also mess with our weather patterns. Imagine every time you heard a crack of thunder you now have to worry about a Raikou showing up. No thanks, I'm good. In at number 7, Kyogre. Land animals aside for a moment, the legendary Pokemon that could exist in our already vast and mostly unknown waters would be next level nerve-wracking. About 71% of the Earth's surface is water. Even though we depend on water ourselves to survive as a species, we know so little about the other creatures that live in the deepest parts of our oceans. Now, if we found out that a Kyogre was living down there, it would probably spark the same amount of fear that the movie Jaws did for great white sharks. Kyogre looks like a combination of a blue sea slug and a killer whale. Not to mention Kyogre doesn't have to stay in the water if it really doesn't want to. In the movie Hoopa and the Clash of the Ages, Kyogre is seen flying away, which really ups the fear factor for us land dwellers. In at number 6, Groudon. Along with Kyogre, Groudon is also part of the weather trio and is said to have raised the lands and intensified the sunlight. Not only would Groudon be this terrifying dinosaur-like creature roaming the earth, but he probably would be helping out the whole global warming crisis. He has these large sharp white claws on both hands as well as his feet, and overall is a very powerful Pokemon. Physically he would be a tough contender to control for even the military, but that aside, his ability to summon intense droughts and create volcanic eruptions would make his capture necessary for our survival. In at number 5, Deoxys. If a Deoxys touched down on Earth in real life, it would hopefully unite us all, but if it didn't, well then we'll have to find another way to deal with this bipedal alien creature. Its arms are capable of taking on a number of different forms, with its most fearsome being its tentacles. It's a legendary Pokemon that is mainly made up of logic and stoicism, yet has been seen to become very vengeful at times, most notably when it was in a rivalry with Rayquaza. The chilling part about this legendary is the amount of ways it can alter its form. We've seen animals in real life using things such as camouflage to assist in its defensive game, but Deoxys can adapt its form to help itself in any situation. Whether it needs speed, defense, or offense, it can utilize its body to adjust. Combined with its very high intelligence and the fact that it travels to other worlds within a meteor, we would have no clue how to deal with such an alien-like creature. In at number 4, Kyurem. Imagine what a T-Rex would look like with wings, and you'd be pretty close to imagining what a real-life Kyurem would look like. It has a body covered in mostly ice, dragon-like features, along with a damaged wing and a chipped horn, which just makes this creature even more chilling to look at. The fact that its body has been through a war yet it still looks ready for destruction should and does look unnerving. Some of its special abilities include being able to produce ultra cold air, for which if it landed in California would send the masses screaming for their lives. In the black and white versions, Kyurem also took on this form that allowed its wings to absorb energy, making it able to shoot fiery energy from its wings. Anything that can shoot a fiery energy should be avoided at all costs. In at number 3, Rayquaza. This dragon mixed with a flying type legendary Pokemon first burst onto the scene in Generation 3 and is the final member of the weather trio. Its long serpent-like body gives it a natural ability to control everything from its speed, direction, and even altitude. Although rarely seen in battle, this legendary possesses some seriously sharp teeth and claws along with a constrictor body. So if it were a real-life creature, you definitely want to keep your distance. Nothing would be scarier than running into the equivalent of a python mixed with a dragon. Even more frightening is the lack of air that the creature needs to survive. It's said that Rayquaza can safely travel through the ozone layer and even higher layers of our Earth's atmosphere. You think a snake dropping out of a tree is scary? How about a Rayquaza dropping out of the sky on you? In at number 2, Giratina. This is one of those legendaries that if you ever had the misfortune of meeting in person would make you believe that you were just having another nightmare. It's another dragon type Pokemon mixed in with some ghost type. It has 6 legs, golden horns, and large bat-like wings. This legendary is an absolute powerhouse of a Pokemon that if provoked would cause a lot of destruction to our world. Couple that with its telepathy and you're in for a real fright. If this legendary Pokemon were real, most religious people would just assume that the apocalypse has arrived. What else would explain a dragon bug ghost looking creature wandering our planet? Lastly, on our number 1 spot, Mewtwo.
But for all of humanity, Pokemon can evolve. Humans and Pokemon merged into one.
Although not nearly as physically scary as the rest of these legendary Pokemon that we've mentioned on the list, Mewtwo's fear factor is derived from its unprecedented abilities. Its godlike presence is always put on display when this Pokemon legend shows up. It has immense power and is by far one of the most dominant Pokemon the universe has ever known. As I mentioned before, we got to see a sneak peek of what that would look like in live action for the Detective Pikachu movie, and the end results were not pretty. Mewtwo was used to merge all humans with their Pokemon, which means it has such powerful psychic abilities that it can manipulate its own environment to be, well, whatever it wants. In Mewtwo Returns, it even teleported a lake that was miles long underground. And as for its personality, well, it wouldn't be the easiest creature to deal with. Mewtwo is very cold, aggressive, and even arrogant at times. It rarely even speaks, which would make communicating with the alien even more daunting.
In at 10, Entei. Entei is just a giant dog, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the real issue comes from when this dog is considering himself to be your father. Yeah, that's actually a thing. For those of you who don't know, Pokemon the Movie 3 was about Entei and the Spell of the Unknown, as indicated by the name of the movie. The movie follows Ash and the gang as they set out to, wait for it, save a girl who was basically brainwashed by Unknown after those same Unknown sucked her father into their dimension. Then after she discovers those Unknown, they create an illusionary Entei that is meant to represent her father. This Entei then spends the movie being hella creepy and protective of this little girl. And along with the help of the Unknown, they create a load of ice spikes to defend their house, and it gets really weird. And then Entei kidnaps her mother and then brings her to Molly, who's the child, who doesn't believe her literal mother when she says that Entei isn't your dad. Like, this is literally the creepiest version of Entei. He has some serious, Hollywood director vibes, if you know what I mean. Like, he's a little too fond of Molly. I know this is a kid's movie and that's not the intention, but just the way he's voice acted and stuff just makes him really terrifying. In at 9, Hoopa. Hoopa confined and unbound versions are some of the creepiest things in these games. Sure, the normal confined Hoopa isn't all that scary, but unbound Hoopa is the stuff of nightmares. Just look at the unbound version. This thing has 5 arms, 2 legs, a giant tail, and rings that he can turn into portals Doctor Strange and Sonic style. The face is also forever present in my darkest of nightmares. This thing looks like a weird messed up dinosaur. The hook on the nose is only matched by the likes of Iago or Toucan Sam. Ebenezer Scrooge has nothing on Unbound Hoopa. The fangs with the teeth and then the horns and the hole in its chest, it's all terrifying and one of the most haunting things that you can think of. Why doesn't he have an equal number of arms on each side? It's so confusing. He looks like he should. Why doesn't he? And at 8, Deoxys. Deoxys was the FNAF puppet before the FNAF puppet. Deoxys is one of the few actual confirmed alien Pokemon that doesn't control some aspect of reality. Deoxys is one of the only Pokemon to have multiple different versions, and might have been the first with this ability. There's the normal form, the attack form, the defense form, and the speed form, and while they each look cool in their own way, they're also terrifying in their own way too. The tentacles that Deoxys has were always off-putting to me, and it didn't help that it's fairly creepy in the movie as well. The attack form is probably the scariest form since it has spikes on the knees and behind its head, but the other forms aren't the most comforting either, especially when it can turn its tentacles into an actual hand and then change it back. I don't like it, honestly. I mean, I like the Pokemon, like, it's actually a really sick Pokemon, but actually looking for scary legendaries has made me see it in a different way. And at 7, Meltan/Melmetal. Meltan was the first mythical Pokemon to have an evolution. This Pokemon was introduced in Pokemon Go of all places, and caused me all sorts of confusion. On September 22nd, 2018, the Pokemon appeared during the Pokemon Go Community Day as and wasn't officially revealed until September 25th. So for 3 days, we were all confused about the new Pokemon. It was also later revealed as the only mythical Pokemon to evolve, requiring 400 candies to do so, and not being able to evolve any other way. Like if you transfer a Meltan into Pokemon Pokemon Let's Go, you can't evolve it. You can only evolve it by getting 400 candies in Pokemon Go. But no need to lose your head over it, since Meltan can do the same. It's actually a key plot point in the episode Got Meltan of the Pokemon anime, where Meltan befriends Ash's Rowlet after it helped that Meltan find its Hex Nut, which had previously fallen off. Melmetal, however, is just like a beast. Picture a Ditto that got exposed to the gamma rays that created the Hulk. That's what Melmetal is. Oh, and Gigantamax Melmetal is an entirely different story. These are just terrifying in the later stages. It's actually very concerning because I have a Melmetal as my buddy in Pokemon Go. And at 6, Zygarde. Zygarde is another Pokemon to have 3 different forms. However, at first there was only the one. The 50% form was the first one introduced in Pokemon X and Y, followed by the 10% and 100% forms in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The 10% form is nothing to fear, it's just a green and black dog, but the 50 and 100% forms are freaking nuts. The 50% version is like a giant snake with like peacock-like tendrils coming out of its back, sticking up in the air like it's ready to attack. Hey, I rhymed. This version is also taller than the 100% form, standing at 16 feet 5 inches, whereas the 100% is a measly 14 feet 9 inches. It's also a beast, and while shorter, the design of the complete form makes it look like all the Power Rangers have come together to defeat a giant villain. This is literally the Megazord of Pokemon. Having to combine all the different pieces of it to get the 100% form, it's pure genius, actually, but also terrifying. Halfway through at number 5, Regidrago. They added more Regis. Yes, this ball of pink has 2 giant arms in the form of a dragon's skull. This actually looks dope, not gonna lie, but it's also scary when you realize that this dude will clap your cheeks. And I mean that in the most literal sense of the word. One clap and you just got a giant stone dragon skull bite down on your body with over 600 pounds of pressure per square inch. And those teeth look hella sharp. Hell, even if you became friends with this thing, you wouldn't be able to hug it. He's over 6 feet tall, nearly 7, meaning that those arms would fully engulf your body, causing instant death the moment he wants to applaud your achievements. Yeah, stay in your Pokeball please and thank you. And at number 4, Arceus. Arceus, or Arceus, whatever you want to call it, was basically the response to the rumor of the Pokemon gods, like Charcolt and the other main starter 4th evolutions. Arceus was introduced in Generation 4, the Diamond and Pearl era. Arceus is also known as the original one, and is said to have created the Sinnoh and Ranzai regions. Ranzai is a region that appeared in Pokemon Conquest. Arceus is also potentially the creator of the entire Pokemon universe as well, not to mention the Lake Guardians, Azelf, Metspirit, and Uxie, along with the creation trio of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Arceus also has the ability to change its type on command by holding different elemental plates, and takes on the weaknesses of that typing, as well as changing the color of its golden ring around its torso. Having to duke it out or even try to catch the god of the Pokemon universe is terrifying. And not to mention, if he didn't appreciate that and then went after you with all of his power, like, he can literally just sing and you're dead in 5 turns, like what? And at 3, Darkrai. Darkrai is the original Creeper Pokemon. Well, original Creeper legendary. Hypno is and forever will be the creepier Pokemon. However, Darkrai is one rude mother hubber because he is here to ruin your day. Well, actually your night. Darkrai is the pitch black Pokemon and loves to feast on dreams, but not just any dreams, no, this psycho loves nightmares. If Darkrai causes you to have nightmares, they'll never end. You'll be stuck in a coma-like state with constant nightmares, unless exposed to the Lunar Wing from Cresselia. Both Darkrai and Cresselia are the lunar duo, basically counteracting each other and being polar opposites. Do I need to explain why Darkrai is scary? Like, if that's not obvious, you don't know Pokemon. He was the original scariest Pokemon. And at 2, Giratina. Giratina is typically seen as the scariest legendary Pokemon, and it's easy to see why. Both the altered and origin form of Giratina are meant to look like the Pokemon Grim Reaper, with tattered wings and a dark color scheme composed of gray, red, dark yellow, and black. The Pokemon also lives in the distortion world, or reverse world, an alternate dimension where the laws of physics have no meaning. Giratina represents antimatter, which I'm sure you'll understand why that makes him scary, especially if you've read or seen the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline from DC Comics. Giratina, according to the Pokedex in Pokemon Platinum, Black, White, Black 2, White 2, Y, and Alpha Sapphire, was banished to the distortion world for its violence. This dude likes to scrap, and you should never fight someone who likes to fight. That's a bad idea. Finally, in at number 1, Eternatus. Eternatus is one overpowered beast, and its Eternamax form is nothing short of the most aggressively horrific thing you'll ever see in a Pokemon game. This Pokemon is what created the Dynamax phenomenon in Pokemon Sword and Shield. According to the Shield Pokedex entry, the Eternamax form is also absorbing the energy from the Galar region, making it weaker while powering up itself. It even ends up absorbing all the energy in Galar, thanks to Rose's meddling. Way to go, Rose, you just Pokemon. It pours out infinite amounts of energy and warps space and time around it. And what do you have to do in game? Catch it! You are literally holding a ticking time bomb in your pocket for the purposes of what? Beating the game a countless number of times? Sure, you had to catch it to save humanity, but do you know how terrifying that makes Tornadus? Its name even implies it's immortal. And what will you do when you die of old age? You'll either have to keep it in a Pokeball or let it loose, which will spell inevitable doom for society. So there's no winning here. You're just dead. You're dead. Way to go, Game Freak. We're dead. Thanks. Actually, thank you. In at 10, Dialga. Dialga is known as a deity in Sinnoh myths, which means that people consider it to be a god, which makes sense since it's a part of the creation trio of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, and we all know how I feel about Pokemon gods. However, it's what this Pokemon is a master of that really makes Dialga terrifying. They're the master of time. Dialga is able to warp time either by speeding it up, slowing it down, or just stopping it. Yeah, this Pokemon can stop time. It can also time travel to the past or the future, and we all know how dangerous messing with time can be. Of course, Dialga wouldn't do that, but it did send Ash and friends back in time in the movie Arceus and the Jewel of Life. And if they made any mistake, butterfly effect. We've seen it in all other forms of media that have to do with time travel. Back to the Future, The Flash, Avengers Endgame. Every bit of media that has people messing with time ends up having an effect. And this wouldn't be any different. That's terrifying. He didn't even care. It was just like, okay, passed. In at 9, Reshiram. Well, Reshiram is more like the little toddler that didn't get its way and thus throws a tantrum. Because when Reshiram's emotions surge, its tail lights up with a fiery glow and goes into overdrive mode. And with this jet engine shaped tail, this thing can burn everything in its wake. It uses its tail to fly at high speeds, but it can also send flames from said tail into the air to incinerate everything around it. Reshiram can straight up start the Pokepocalypse if it wanted to, or if it was just having a bad day. Not only is it capable of burning down your house, but it has before. Reshiram is said to have burnt down entire kingdoms in the past, and by flaring its tail, it's able to control the weather by literally moving the world's atmosphere. That's insane and horrifying to think that a Pokemon has so much control over life and death, and it's just because of its tail. And this isn't even the worst one. Also, by the way, if you guys are enjoying the video, please do us a favor and hit the like button. It really helps us out and can help this video be seen by even more people, and we get to make more fun stuff like this. And at 8, Volcanion. I've always seen Volcanion as scary, ever since the day the first fire and water type Pokemon was announced. However, after reading up on this dude, this fear only grew. Volcanion famously has that ring above its head, and those are actually like high pressure hoses that he can control individually. However, instead of water, these shoot steam. You may be thinking, sure, it's just steam, but it can shoot out steam at such a high pressure that it actually has the ability to blow mountains away. Not just move them, but blow them away. Mount Everest actually used to be in BC. Not only is this Pokemon extremely powerful, but it also hates humans, as shown in the movie Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel, where it targeted the Azoth Kingdom to retrieve Magearna, a man-made Pokemon. This guy can blow away mountains and hates humans? That sounds like death to me, brother. No thank you. And at 7, Kyurem. Kyurem is an absolute beast. This Pokemon looks insane. The design of this Pokemon is really what makes me love Black and White and their sequels. This design is some of the peak Pokemon design. Not this generation, since there's literally an ice cream cone that evolves to get more scoops and ice cream cones, but Kyurem is absolutely nuts. This Pokemon radiates freezing energy, so much so that due to a leak, the Pokemon's body became frozen. It is said to have power that exceeds that of both Reshiram and Zekrom, but the cold keeps it at bay. According to legend, Kyurem used to eat Pokemon and humans if they were found outside at night, so we can assume that he hates everything. At least he ate them until he ended up getting himself frozen solid. This Pokemon is also able to fuse with either Zekrom or Reshiram, making it the first fusion Pokemon. And even these Pokemon are terrifying. Sure, you can't have it without one or the other, but holy crap, this thing is haunting my nightmares tonight. And at 6, Zekrom. While being incinerated is scary, at least Reshiram looks majestic and like it wouldn't hurt a fly. Zekrom, on the other hand, will annihilate your kingdom with lightning and look like he'd do that and then steal your girl. Zekrom's tail emits an anti-gravity field which it uses to fly, but like, do you know the implications of that? You walk near Zekrom and you start floating higher and higher until you can't breathe anymore. It's like that cursed difficulty that Fundy made for Minecraft. This is some of the craziest crap that you can think of, and it's in a Pokemon game. This guy can summon multiple thunderstorms at once in one area. What the hell does that even mean? There could be like 5 thunderstorms at once? That would cause a load of panic, and like how does that even work? Would it just turn into a tornado? Would it cause a load of destruction? Probably, because he can destroy a whole kingdom with lightning, and has done so before. Halfway through at number 5, Shadow Lugia. Shadow Lugia is a Lugia corrupted by the criminal organization Cypher. Shadow Lugia is also believed to be the ultimate shadow Pokemon immune to purification. This is evident from its appearance, which is different to normal Lugia, something that is unique to this legendary, since all of the shadow or corrupted Pokemon possess a shadowy aura instead. Shadow Lugia appeared in the game Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, where it picks up a whole cruise ship, the SS Libra, and drops it in the desert, allowing Cypher to capture all the Pokemon on board. That's crazy. This is one of the scariest things ever. If the character of Professor Crane hadn't made the Purify Chamber in that game, Lugia would have been lost forever, and been an evil and terrifying looking Pokemon. You have to agree with me that Shadow Lugia is terrifying, but there are a couple more that make things even worse. And at 4, Mewtwo. Mewtwo was first seen as an evil Pokemon who hated humans, but honestly he just wanted to be left alone. Same. However, in the movie Detective Pikachu, we see Mewtwo get corrupted and controlled by Howard Clifford, who transfers his consciousness into Mewtwo and uses him to attack Rhyme City, fusing Pokemon with their trainers, like Mewtwo had done for Pikachu and Tim's father. Mewtwo is the original most powerful Pokemon. The main goal of the original Pokemon games was to eventually catch Mewtwo after becoming the champion, and the fact that this movie proves that one of the most powerful and beloved Pokemon, at least by community standards, can be controlled and used in such a way is terrifying. This is really only talking about the Detective Pikachu universe, but still, nuts and one of the craziest things that we've seen to date in any form of Pokemon universe game. And at 3, Rayquaza. Rayquaza is the beast of a Pokemon. This guy in his original form is 23 feet long and weighs 455 pounds. While he is meant to soothe the other members of the Weather Trio, the territorial nature of this Pokemon means that it will really attack indiscriminately. In the Pokemon movie Destiny Deoxys, Rayquaza attacks Deoxys for invading its territory, even though it was just looking for its friend, another Deoxys, and was not invading territory at all. But also, the shiny of this Pokemon is terrifying. A giant flying snake that is nearly impossible to see against the night sky because it's black with only a couple yellow spots? No thank you. Rayquaza also attacked the rocket ship that Ash and his friends and Team Rocket were on in the anime episode Where No Togepi Has Gone Before, which is really scary since, you know, they all could have died, but they have plot armor so they didn't. Oh, and Rayquaza had a battle with Deoxys that caused the meteor to head towards the Alola region. Kartana was able to cut it up, but if it hadn't, Alola would have been destroyed. Yeah. That's a no from me. And at 2, Yveltal. Yveltal basically has control over death. It has the power to absorb life energy by spreading its wings and tail feathers. And in the main anime series episode The Legend of X, Y, and Z, Yveltal was shown turning a whole kingdom to stone, including people and Pokemon. And when it reaches the end of its life, it kills everything. Yeah, according to the Pokemon Y and Alpha Sapphire Pokedex, when its life comes to an end, it absorbs the life energy of every living thing and turns into a cocoon once more. Yeah, if this Pokemon dies, everything dies. And apparently, it's inevitable. Sure, the destruction may be contained to the Kalos region, but even then, literally anything and everything from that region will die. What the hell? That's insane. Like, that's like the Pokemon equivalent of Pompeii. The utter destruction of the world when Yveltal's life comes to an end? How is that not scary? I don't know how I didn't mention this in part 1, okay? But I should've, okay? And for that reason, I'm out. Finally, in at number 1, Necrozma. Necrozma, in addition to looking terrifying, is just like the physical embodiment of a black hole in the Pokemon universe. It's pitch black, which is the result of impurities that built up inside the Pokemon during its deep slumber. It also absorbs light, and once it absorbs enough light, it can ultra burst to become Ultra Necrozma, a colossal dragon of pure light energy. It can also fuse with Solgaleo and Lunala, making even more terrifying versions of the Sun and Moon mascots. Necrozma originates from deep space and is able to open and travel through ultra wormholes. It had the ability to give light, but was injured and partially broke, thus resulting in the spread of crystals capable of activating Pokemon's ability to use Z-moves. This Pokemon is the reason we can use Z-moves, and he just looks horrifying. Necrozma is my sleep paralysis demon.
And at 10, Regieleki. Regieleki was introduced into the Legendary Titans by the Crown Tundra DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield. This Reggie is said to have the strongest power of any electric-type Pokemon, and was sealed away due to how dangerous it was. This dude even looks menacing as all hell. The man is shooting electricity from 3 different places on its body, enough to fry anyone within a 10-foot radius. He is capable of generating all the Galar region's electricity, according to the shield dex. And according to Sword, if you remove the rings on his body, you will unleash this Pokemon's full power. Yeah, he ain't even at 100% yet, it's like Shaggy. So needless to say, this dude is a freaking monster, and not the pocket kind. You thought the 10,000 volt ghost from Scooby-Doo was bad? Regieleki is like 20 times that on an off day. And at 9, Thundurus. Thundurus is one of the weather trio from the Unova region, introduced as a wandering legendary and annoying as hell to catch. This man is a freaking genie that controls lightning and storms and is a prankster. This guy will strike you with a bolt of lightning for fun. He will laugh his ass off while frying your home with constant lightning strikes. And if that's not bad enough, this guy's Therian form is whack. It looks like a genie took some form of illicit substance and became a freak. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. This guy must be juicing. And is it a coincidence that these first 2 are electric types? No, this guy can destroy an entire group of people by just electrocuting some water. Oh, and he can fly and can change routes so fast that he breaks the sound barrier. So, saying this guy, especially in his Therian form, isn't scary is an injustice, and I will execute you. And at 8, Galarian Moltres. Normal Moltres looks fine to me. They're red and basically a dragon, whatever. But Galarian Moltres is a terrifying abomination. Introduced in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC, this regional variant of Moltres is black with pink flames, talons, belly, and face. This is freaking nuts. The dude has 2 tails, for God's sake. Not to mention it's now dark and flying type, not fire and flying. Or hell, even dark and fire would make more sense. I know it has wings, so it should be flying, but Gyarados is also a flying type, or at least it was, so we can ignore what would make sense. Looking at Galarian Moltres, you cannot tell me this beast isn't scary. This thing looks like a pterodactyl. It's gonna swoop in and carry me away while I'm at a cafe eating breakfast before the day of mass murdering Pokemon in the wild for the purposes of gaining experience points. I can feel the flames already and they don't feel good. You wanna know what makes a fire magenta like that? Potassium sulfate and potassium nitrate. Potassium, you know, the stuff that reacts violently with water that the teacher shows you but says they shouldn't show you so you can all think they're cool. Yeah, since that stuff can react with your skin or even just the moisture in the air, that's a no thank you, sir. And at 7, Regigigas. Another Regi on this list? Yes. Why? Because Regigigas is meant to be the master of the legendary titans. Being a normal type, that's pretty impressive since nobody really cares about the normal types. I'm sorry, but it's true. 1 ghost type with fighting moves and you're good for the gym. But this guy, just look at him. Which ones are his eyes? Are they the black dots in the center or the colored ones to either side? I don't know. This guy is a beast. Sure, he has a slow start, but this man is 12 feet tall and just under 1,000 pounds, so he will crush you with even the slightest bit of pressure. He could flick you and you would be able to meet Deoxys. I'm telling you, you don't want this guy on your bad side. And considering how you can only wake him up if you have all the other Regis, dude, holy crap, that's some serious aura energy. While he may not be the most obviously scary Pokemon, him being the leader of all the legendary titans, he can send them all after you. 1 wrong move and you're toastier than my morning sandwich. Okay, not really, but that's only because I don't eat breakfast. And it's because of this guy. And at 6, Heatran. Heatran is a Fire Steel type Pokemon introduced in Diamond and Pearl, and this guy is freaky as hell. He may not look like it, but with those legs and the ability to climb up walls, this guy is basically a giant lava spider, and I'm not okay with it. This is one of, if not the only legendary Pokemon to have a biological sex, even if the Pokemon doesn't have an egg group. Sure, it may be low to the ground at 5'7", but I know people who are shorter than that, and that's honestly terrifying. Especially when at only 5'7", thanks to all the steel, he also weighs in at nearly 1,000 pounds. He's actually heavier than Regigigas, who is only 420 kilograms, plays it. This guy is 430 kilos. His abilities are Flash Fire, which makes fire actually heal him, and Flame Body, meaning that it's possible to catch on fire while even being close to this guy. Why? Why does this have to be a thing? First, you make me need to catch a giant lava spider, but then you also make it possible for it to set me on fire with 1 touch, or crush me with 1 leg, and make him around my height? This guy is like 3 inches shorter than me. Hell no. Not okay. Halfway through number 5, Spectrier. The only form of undead or spooky horse I want in my life is Arvac or Shadowmere, okay? Spectrier is a ghost-type legendary introduced in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC. This Pokemon on its own is spooky, but, you know, since it's a ghost of a horse. But using the Reins of Unity, it can combine with Calyrex to become Shadow Rider Calyrex. Pokemon literally has its own version of the Headless Horseman now. Well, maybe it's not headless, but it's certainly damn close. This combination of Spectrier and Calyrex is damn strong. With special attack stack of 165 and speed of 150, this dude is going to speed right through you, creating a magical hole as it goes through, leaving you as another ghost to wander in the Pokemon world. Maybe you'll become a Yamask, forced to carry around your own face and crying whenever you see it, because you know that's also a thing. Yet you don't mess with the forces of death itself. And then for Groudon. Groudon isn't the scariest of the weather trio, I'll admit it, but I've already used Rayquaza, and if you think about it, this dude can cause droughts wherever he goes, potentially ruining all crop yields all over the world. Sure, Kyogre could probably reverse it, but Kyogre is limited to water, whereas Groudon can walk on land, where all the crops really are. Not only that, but he is 11'6" and over 2,000 pounds, and his primal form, he gets the ability Desolate Land, which I don't think I need to explain why that's bad. He also grows 5 feet and gains 200 pounds. Groudon is a freaking beast, and if left unchecked, he will wipe out humanity. You know the apocalypse stories or games where like the land is all ruined, cracked, and there's hardly any water? That's because of Groudon. There is no telling the sheer amount of destruction he could cause just because someone woke him up, and that's kind of my energy. And Team Magma just goes ahead and wakes him up, right? Why is it that the evil team always plans on using the potentially world-ending Pokemon for their own gain? Do they not realize how monumentally stupid that is? And at 3, Palkia. Palkia is one of the first Pokemon ever. Created by Arceus along with Dialga and Giratina, it's a member of the Creation Trio and controls the aspect of space. This motherfucker is 13 feet tall and nearly 800 pounds, and I'm supposed to think he looks cuddly? This guy has razor blades that stretch from his pelvis to his tail. He has the face of my nightmares, but it's very similar to the faces of Dialga and Giratina. He's Pokemon 484, but he should be Pokemon 666. Why is he water type? That makes no sense. Just let him be dragon type. Those wings are like blades as well, like the folding fans that Katana uses in Mortal Kombat, but 30 times bigger and attached to this dude's back. He will come flying at you, then cut you right down the middle with those bad boys. And not to mention his toes. And I thought my feet were bad. Oh my god. And this monster has a spike for a heel that looks like he's wearing some stilettos of death. Yeah. And ultimately in at number 2, Type Null. Type Null is known as the synthetic Pokemon, but honestly, it's just a chimera. It was created by Faba and the Aether Foundation, and its codename was the Beast Killer, and the Pokemon was developed with cells from every known Pokemon type. Basically, they tried making another Arceus, and they kind of succeeded, since that helmet it wears is meant to suppress its power to stable levels. It's basically the Nephilim of Pokemon. You know Jack from Supernatural, how overpowered he was? Yeah, that's Type Null, but in the Pokemon universe. This guy is so crazy overpowered without that helmet that they added blades that will cut your whole damn hand off if you try to take it off. I wouldn't be surprised if the helmet blades start spinning if you get too close, okay? Like, Jesus. Finally, in at number 1, White Kyurem and Black Kyurem. Last part we had Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem on the list, but we didn't have the fusion forms of White and Black Kyurem. These monsters were absolutely terrifying. First we got White Kyurem. We get some additional icy detail on the legs, a tail very similar to the absolute dump truck that Reshiram has, but looking even more like a cannon this time around. Like if Kyurem and Reshiram had an armored child that was hellbent on destroying the world, that's all I can say. Then we got Black Kyurem. This dude has the same features but with a more aggressive stance, with wings up on his back and those teeth looking ready to tear me apart at any minute. His arms are huge, like Popeye had a baby with just a geode, and he could just crush me. I can't even fathom the sheer terror I feel when looking at these Pokemon. I don't know why I didn't include them sooner. This is just pure horror. Horror in its finest form. No thank you. You think Pokemon is a kid's game? Try again.